sirs. Cool. Right. Here we are then. Alright everyone, how's it going? I am Flux Pavilion. Welcome to From the Lab, even though it isn't quite a From the Lab. It's, rather than me writing music, it's going to be me listening to music I've already written. And I have heard these songs a fuckload of times. But you haven't, which is so mad. What a mad thing. That, check this out, just to digress. Just remember this is here, my old Flux Pavilion ring. Let's wear it for posterity. Mad thing. So 3 days my album comes out. And I figured what I'd do is I'd just sit and play the whole thing, so whoever is here can hear it for the first time. Let me know what you think. I'll try and answer some questions. I'm quite bad at checking the chat. Yes. Hello to everyone. Right, let's start. So I'm going to talk about the tracks and stuff, kind of make it a bit of a director's commentary type thing. Let's start with the first track. This is called Every Cable Goes Somewhere. Cool. That's the so it's the first track, opening of the album. Someone asked why I'm so nervous in the chat. I'm not. This is just why I am always like. Yeah, so what can I say about this song? I actually wrote quite a lot of this on stream. So if you go to my YouTube on the From the Lab series, you'll see there's every cable, part 1, 2 and 3. So yeah, you can kind of see me writing this as I go. The reason the name comes from, I wrote the basis of the song on my modular, and the kind of theme for the From the Lab show was to use every cable that I own. So yeah, once I ran out of cables, that was it. I had the idea, and I wasn't going to do anything with it, but when I stopped the stream, I just kept listening, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to record all this in just in case I want to use it. And I'm fucking well glad that I did, because it turned into this. It's this stuff at the end. I really enjoyed recording this. All of those noises are this little box I've got by Soma Electronics called Ether. What it does is it picks up electromagnetic signals. So everything electronic is emitting an electronic signal and kind of disrupting the electromagnetic spectrum is the way I look at it, kind of like radio waves and stuff. I think radio waves are part of it too. And I just went around, got this little thing. Yeah, I don't know if it will still be playing. Yeah. So yeah, that's me going around my studio with my electromagnetic signal thing, and recording a bunch to tape. Yeah, it's called Ether, Soma Electronics. A bunch of stuff that I use is by Soma Electronics, and they're really, really cool. Write some cool stuff, and yeah, I'd have to probably go into the project to hear exactly what it says. Yeah, it's covered up, but I was picking up radio signals, and right at the end, there's just a voice that comes in and goes, "It's okay, don't worry, it's okay." And it was really creepy, but also really calming. It kind of felt like the electromagnetic spectrum was sort of calming me down, and it's right there at the very end, and you can't really hear it, but you know it exists now. And it was cool. If you want to know more about specifics, I'm probably not going to go into techie stuff other than that, but I mean like how I wrote them all and stuff like that. If you want to know more about that song, then you can go on my From the Lab series. So track 2, you'll have heard this one. It's called Survive with Feed Me and Mish.
Here we go again, it's always on our mind. Like a parasite. the sky, I will survive. Take me away from this life, this life, this life, life. One step at a time, I will survive. Wanna feel more than alive. Away from my mind, I will survive. Take me away from this life, this life, this life, life. One step at a time, I will survive. Wanna feel more than alive.
Yes. It's hard to say my favourites. I was just thinking about it then. I reckon my favourite's the last track, actually, which is one you haven't heard yet, just because it means so much. But that's definitely up there. Yeah, Did It With Feed Me. It was, yeah, I saw someone in the chat say about it being in 5/4. It's not, actually. It's in 4/4, but there's an extra bar at the start of each 8 bars. So it's the 9-bar loop. So, yeah, the very first hit. So this hit. Where is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is just extra bits, and the actual loop starts here. So yeah, it's kind of then it starts to stumble over itself. So yeah, so it's not technically, so it is in 4/4 basically, because the rhythm of it is there's 4 beats per bar, and there's I don't know, 4, 5. If there's 5 bars, it's 4, 5, and then 4, 4 latched onto each other. Not too sure. Couldn't tell you. I kind of go by the feel of it. I knew working with John, so I've been good friends with John for years. I wanted to do something weird and odd and new. It's kind of what the process of this album is. I just wanted to do stuff that feels new, that either I haven't done before or that no one's really done before. And I've never really heard a track like that. It's like original and unoriginal at the same time. It's got so much of a sound palette that you recognise, but just done in a bit of a different way. And yeah, Mish is awesome. So that song was co-written. The song was actually written with Mish by Pete and Ari from Anna Managuchi, who are very good friends of mine as well. And yeah, apparently the lyrics are something to do with Dance Dance Revolution song titles. That's all I know about it. I was talking to Misha about it in New York sometime. And yeah, but super cool. The fact that they managed to write something around such an obscure rhythm it's astonishing. I tried and I couldn't do it, but I knew those guys could, because they just, yeah, they think in the right way. Cool, very cool song. Happy with that one. Next up is another one that you know, and it's called 2025 with What's a Nod.
It takes up time to pretend, but I don't know what I wanna do. Where do we go at the end? I still don't know what I wanna do. pretend, but I don't know what I wanna do. Where do we go at the end? You don't have to feel no more. You don't have to fear it all. Take a breath and be more. It's okay to be alone. Let me be alone. You don't have to feel no more. Take a breath and beat 'em all.
Abrupt finish. But yeah, that's such a cool song. I never write house. Like, I guess you call it house. It kind of feels like that, fall to the floor. But it just, yeah, I've never written anything like that before. I really love it. It's just got such a cool vibe, and it's like dancey, but also really emotional as well. The kind of the top line just makes it feel so sad. Yeah, I really like it. That yeah, I forgot to say, so on Every Cable, so there's a few songs that I sing on quite a few, but most of it's unnoticed. So Every Cable, the first track I sing, this is me at the start. Just doing some oohs there, and then yeah, there's a bit of basically the Chain Gang of 1974 did the vocal, absolutely smashed it. It was all based on a melody. When we were working on the song, I just sung, first thing that came to my head, that just kind of fit over it, and then I cut that vocal up for the reprise, or not reprise, the response. So it's to be alone, be alone, be alone. So I kept my original ones in, so that's still me singing on the kind of response. I'll see if you can see what I mean.
You don't have to feel no more. You don't have to fear it all. Take a breath and be more.
So yeah, that's me. I'm not singing any words as well. It's generally what I do coming up with melodies. You just sing random syllables. So yeah, What's a Knot and Chain Gang wrote that. They wrote a song based off of the melodies that I'd originally sung, and I kept some of them in, so you get a bit of a tonal difference there. I thought that was quite cool. And yeah, I wonder if it's, I can't be able to find it, but yeah, my little tape machine, that's where I got the sound for that. The reason it's kind of sounds a bit wonky is I kind of recorded it onto tape and re-recorded it back in. I think it ended up sounding quite cool. Yes, so that's that one. 2025. Not sure what else to say about it. Don't know if I should say I like it, because I obviously really love them all. It feels weird being like, oh man, that's such a fucking awesome song. But it is. I obviously think it is, because it's my song, you know. And yeah, I feel the same about all of these. That's kind of why they're on here. Next up is Lion's Cage, another one that you've heard. Well, another favourite.
if I told you I'm to blame? But if I hold you down till the end of days, I'm not giving up, no, I will not go walking tightrope over the lion's cage. Oh, I'm running in circles, trying to find If you could just see how much you need me, I would sleep easier. Oh. A bed full of secrets, dark lullabies. I want your body near. I need you, 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 you right here. I need you, 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 you right
So sorry to stop the experience, but I've got something. I got interesting thing that I found actually here. I mean, I figure you guys have listened to this track by now anyway. It's been out for a little while, but yeah, talking about my vocal having in the track before, "What's a Knot and Chain Gang," writing along to just my nonsense singing syllables. I actually did that for the second verse here. I just I didn't. I had a vibe. I was like, I want you guys to write something like this, and then just did a freestyle, one take freestyle over the top. And then what they did is they wrote near enough perfectly to my freestyle. So it's, I don't know, it came out really, really nice. How, you know, it doesn't feel like the melodies are written. It was all just, or it just happened in one take. I just pressed record, and then they've constructed words around that, and it it came together really nice. But I've got what I sent them, so I thought I'd play that for you guys, and then we'll go back to the second verse and hear what they did with it.
I'm holding some balls, I don't think
So yeah, it's I was really happy with it actually. It's like a little freestyle, but yeah, I was just like, I want something like this that just kind of feels like this, and they just they copied it but nailed it down. They sort of distilled what I'd done, and it came out really good. I'd say it's one of, if not my favourite moment on the album, is this second verse.
I'm out of my mind, living in the memory. Yeah. Ooh, the hours just fall like the rain in the dark. Every time I call you, my heart breaks, but much sleep easier. A bed full of secrets, dark lullabies. I want your body near. I need you, 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 you right here. I need you, 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 you right
Yes. Fuck me. It's so powerful, that song. It's just, yeah. I haven't listened to that on headphones in ages. And it's just such a beautiful song. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that about my own music. I guess so. Fuck it. I'm well happy with that. Yeah. It all kind of started with I just had an a cappella of the you, and I kind of I wrote the whole song around that. But yeah, it's in 3/4. This one is the first track I've ever released that's not in 4/4. And I thought that would be rare, but I don't think it is. I actually think there's a few. I've come across quite a few tracks in 3/4 now because I have to work out how to mix it. And yeah, first time for me though. Kind of find it quite hard to say. It just feels so great. The vocal performance is absolutely amazing. That second verse, just I feel so grateful to have. I listened to obviously lots of music, listened to loads of music growing up, and had so much of my favourite music was all about moments. It would be like that guitar solo in that Beatles track, or that guitar solo in that Frank Zappa track, or maybe that guitar solo in that Hendrix track, if there's obviously there's a theme. But it's just like that bit, that one little lick or something that just feels so perfect. And I never really hear those in my own music. Maybe you guys, when you listen to it, you're like, oh, this bit is so good, but I very rarely hear that because I'm so invested in it. But I can hear that in Lion's Cage. That second verse for me is one of my favourite musical moments. Like, not even in my own music, just in music. I just love the way it feels and sounds. And I'm so proud and excited to kind of realise that is part of my album. Because, that feels new. Super cool. So that's Lion's Cage. Next is one that you haven't heard yet. This one is called Partial Fugue in B minor.
And now we continue our show with a performance of Flux Pavilion's Partial Fugue in B minor.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that one. A fucking mad piece of music, that's for sure. It's if you want to hear, actually, I did an interview today with Matt Meadows on his EDM Matters thing. I don't know if he's watching this now, but yeah, I talked through this whole track with him, and that video is going to come up on Thursday or Friday. So if you want to hear me talking in more depth about it, I'll I did that already today. It's yes, another one of me singing here. Do a fair amount of singing actually on this album. It's just all quite hidden, which is yeah, it feels quite nice actually. Feels quite fitting. Yeah, that's probably the most Flux Pavilion song on here. If you didn't like trad, Flux doing his thing, that's the one I can imagine people being like, oh yeah, here he is. This is the Flux Pavilion that we know. It felt unnatural to not have a song like this, but also this is the most expressive, maybe not expressive, but experimental and what's the word when you're sort of like attempting to do something, don't know, can't think of the right word. Experimental might be it. Ambitious, that's the word. It's the most ambitious version of this Flux Pavilion type sound that I've ever done. Oh yeah, saw in the chat there was a key change as well. So I'm talking about Squall and Renoa Melody in the chat. I actually do have a song that I did on stream called Squall and Renoa, if you're referencing that. But yeah, that might be another one for another album. But yeah, Squall and Renoa, my favourite. Renoa is the first girl I ever had a crush on. She's a character from Final Fantasy VIII, and I reckon she would have loved this song. She loves a bit of Bach-inspired dance floor music. So yeah, that's Partial Fugue in B minor. There's around a 15-second period of the song that it is a fugue. So it's only a partial fugue because I couldn't quite manage to get an entire fugue into dance floor format, but partial is good enough. Next one is another one of the singles that's already come out called Sink Your Teeth In.
Split me up, sink your teeth in, tell me what I'm worth, what you wasted on. Split me up, sink your teeth in, tell me what I'm worth, what you wasted on. Love you or hate me, I'll take anything. You say you're far from over it, but there's nothing else you'd rather be. Split me up, sink your teeth in, tell me what I'm worth, what you wasted on. Split me up, sink your teeth in, tell me what I'm worth, what you wasted on.
forgot I did that. That's me singing at the end there. Heavily affected, but yeah. I reckon this is a low-key sleeper best track on the album. It's just got everything. This bit here. I feel like I've been wanting to write that my entire life, and I've done it now, and it felt as good as I expected. So I actually wrote this song on a tracker. I did the first little bit of it on stream, where I brought the vocal in and started messing around, and then remembered this thing that I'd written on a tracker, and yeah, they gelled really well together. It's yeah, it makes me want to play guitar. There's a lot of guitar on this song that you can't even really hear, but it's what gives it all that space. But I do play a bit on my new live show. I guess I should talk about that as well. I've got rid of my decks, and my whole new live show, I play guitar through the whole show and do a bit of live singing and play keyboard and stuff like that. Partial fugue in B minor, learning the chords. I can actually play that song, all of the chords, and that was a fucking nightmare. I tell you, I practiced for 4 months to be able to get that right. But yeah, Sink Your Teeth In's got a bunch of guitar on there as well. Yeah, it was my attempt at rhythm. Funnily enough, I have moved away from dubstep and rhythm. I wouldn't really consider any of this album to be dubstep, to be honest, but it kind of is, because obviously it's that halftime beat I love. It feels more like hip hop to me. It always kind of did. I Can't Stop, I always thought it was a hip hop track rather than a dubstep track, but it fits. But they both, like Do or Die, that's a hip hop track with a dubstep drop, but it always kind of felt interchangeable. But yeah, rhythm, melodic rhythm, I hear that being bandied around, and I thought, well, why not? None of those melodic rhythm guys are doing it like that, that's for sure. Probably for good reason, but I am, because that's the sound that I like. And yeah, Sink Your Teeth In, I reckon it's the favourite for best one. It feels really right, that track. Yeah, next one is the one that I just released quite recently. This one's called I Believe.
I've been driving all night long, listening to our favorite song. Check your lights, but no one's home. I've been dancing all night long. I still got your t-shirt on. Still been setting plates for 2 every morning. Like an army of the night, I still hear your heartbeat fighting through the distance. You're 1,500,000 miles away, but I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. I've been calling up your phone, I forgot about times that I'm feeling so alive. I've been on my own too long, bed's too big for anyone. Still been holding your pillow every morning. Like an army of the night, I still hear your heartbeat fighting through the distance. You're 1,500,000 miles away, but I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. I'll be fine, I'll be fine. You'll be mine, you'll be mine. I'll be fine, I'll be fine. You'll be mine, you'll be mine. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. But I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe.
reckon it's like the hardest track on the album. That one doesn't sound hard, but it feels hard. It's just like, yeah, it's a bit of a banger. It's a bit worried it was going to be a bit too frenetic, that one, when I was writing it, and I played it when I was practicing my new live show, and it's like, nah, this just feels really right. I really love the vocal. This is one that I wasn't part of writing. I just got sent this vocal. I get sent vocals all the time. People just like, hey, do you want to use this? And first off, love the vibe. It's just so kind of scatty and unique. And then you're 1,500,000 miles away. All of a sudden, it sunk in that that's like 1.5 million miles or 15 million miles. I think 1.5 million. It's like, that's a fucking long way. At first I was like, oh yeah, this is like a long distance relationship, but that's another planet type long distance relationship. And yeah, as you all know, Flux Pavilion doesn't really exist on Earth. He comes to Earth. I'm here at the moment, but yeah, this I can move the studio around kind of anywhere in the universe. I sort of play shows all over the place. I've luckily done well through the pandemic, because there's not a pandemic on Venus at the moment, so I've just been up there playing a bunch of shows. And yeah, it felt really right. That 1.5 million mile love song. It's a love song between a girl and an alien, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, I heard that as soon as that clocked. I was like, fuck yes, this is the song for me. And I've since had a few people tweet being like, bro, 1,500,000 miles, that's like 1.5 million miles. Are you serious? Did you miss that? I'm like, no, I didn't miss it. It's the fucking point. It was exactly what made me fall in love with the vocal. And then yeah, putting such a kind of, it's quite a tense sort of, it's longing, I feel like, in the track. This sort of tension, especially around here.
But I believe I'll be fine. You'll be mine.
They're all like, I really love using suspended chords to kind of give you a small release of tension, but still holding on to something, so that when you do reach the drop or the moment, it unleashes there. And that I really love that section, where it kind of feels like you're clenching, something's building up, but there's a tension there, and it's yeah, it feels really cool, and it really fits with the vocal. I think I'm super happy with that one. Very cool. That's I Believe, track 7 out of 16. You'll listen to one more, then I'll take a small break for a cigarette and go to the bathroom. This one is called Twitter Bird, and yeah, I'll tell you about it after. Yes. So that's Twitterbird. I wrote that one on stream, or did a bunch of work on it on stream. I'm gonna see if I can easily find the my Twitterbird. So basically, I don't know if any of you remember, I put out a video asking for yeah, here it is. I think it's Twitterbird. A video asking for people to sing one note, and I got of just hundreds and hundreds, and I found. I wonder if nice is what I want. Yeah, I cut a bunch of them up, just as single notes, and got them all in tune, and yeah, made this keyboard that chooses one at random. Yeah, so it sounds like that. It sounds fucking awesome. And that's what the basis of this Twitterbird song was. So I was gonna say featuring Twitterbird to kind of feature everyone. It's called Twitterbird because I got all the samples of you guys from Twitter. So yeah, if you sent any of your voices, one of these could be you, and it's in that song. And what's really interesting about the song is it's random, so it plays randomly. So that means when I open a project, so my song on my computer, to play the notes, all it does is it tells it what notes to play. But because it cycles randomly, every time I open that project, every time I play the song, it will play something different every time. So this, how it sounds now, if I open it up, it will never play those same samples in that same order again. So I got one bounce. I bounced it and was like, that's it. I could have bounced it 10 times and chosen the best one, but I really didn't want to do that. That felt like kind of against the nature of having something random. And yeah, a lot of the rest of it, all the guitar parts and stuff, they were all written as part of my live show. So it's really interesting. I've had this really elaborate live show that I've been working on for months and months, all of last year, and none of you have ever even heard it. Like, you've seen snippets of like bits and pieces of me doing it, like at the Quarren stream and stuff. But yeah, we're doing it February the 4th, I think. February the something. Go on my Twitter, and you buy tickets. I think they're like $5 or something like that. And yeah, we're doing I've done it. I've recorded the whole thing. My brand new live show, which I've played every single song, all 16. A lot of them from start to finish, and then other bits and pieces with me playing live guitar and stuff. And Twitterbird does some of my favourite live guitar to play, which is yeah, cool. Right, I'm gonna take a short break and go to the bathroom and all that. Be back in a sec. All right. Let us continue. Hope everyone's all right. How you doing in the chat? And yeah, I got merch as well. Just trying to think of things to sell. Obviously, I'm selling the album. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of .wav live merch. Actually, I don't know if I've said that. The album's called .wav. If you add .wav to the end of your name on Twitter, then let me know that you're in the stream, all my stream people, because yeah, I'm interested in who gives a shit this much, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's hard for me to think there are artists that I've watched their live streams like this, and I've been super excited about their new album, and I am me, so it's hard to imagine that, because I've just been kind of creating this sat in my studio, you know. But I really appreciate that there's a bunch of you guys that are super excited about this album, and so am I. It's just like such a lovely thing to share it with you, and I hope that you get as much pleasure from listening to this as I had making it. I'm actually really loving sitting and listening to it. It's the first time I've really sat and like listened to it from start to finish, which is real nice. And yeah, cool, let's crack on. This next track is called Breathe. It's more of an interlude than a track, I think. Oops, that's Twitterbird.
Come to life. Put your faith in me. Fly. Every time we touch, follow me. Beyond here and now. Breathe the air. Come to life. Put your faith in me. Fly. Every time we touch, follow me. Beyond here and now.
Yeah, that's for those I've seen in the chat. But you've noticed that yeah, that's the vocal from Survive, the breakdown from Survive. That's another stream one. If you go on FromTheLab on YouTube, you can find it's called Breathe is the episode. And yeah, I wrote that from start to finish in 2 hours. Just always love that moment, that vocal. I didn't feel like it had enough time to really be experienced in Survive. It's this bit here.
Put your faith in me. Fly. Every time.
It's like a really lovely moment in the song, but I felt like it needed more time for you to hear just how lovely that is. That piece of that piece of writing. So I made an interlude out of it called Breathe, and yes, it's cool. It's the hardest one to fit into my set, but I did it, and you'll hear that when you see the new live set. Yeah, next one is another one that you guys will know called You and I.
You were careless with my heart again. A hurt I can't delete. All the misery and pain you felt, you blamed it all on me. I took a bullet for your broken past. Couldn't save you anyways. You built walls to see if we would last. I had you step away. You and I were meant to be. You and I were meant to stay together forever and a day. You and I, you and I. You and I were meant to be. You and I were meant to stay together forever and a day. You and I, you and I. You and I, you and I. Thought that we were transatlantic cars. We went far and we went deep. But when our ocean got too dangerous, we both forgot to breathe. We were close and I just soaked you in. Let the waves flush over us. Oh, we tried to fight it but we couldn't win. Maybe I thought that it was love. You and I were meant to be. You and I were meant to stay together forever and a day. You and I, you and I. You and I, you and I.
Short and sweet, that one. I didn't realise it was so short. Looking at looking at all the rest of these tracks. Yeah, that one I wrote that guitar. It's really, really simple. It's like it's all just open strings really. But I just had this idea of having a real, I don't know, it's country is not really the right term. It's kind of like folk part of my set where I can walk out with my guitar and play that and sing. And I wrote a bunch of stuff with my vocal, but it just didn't feel right. And then another one, there was another vocal that I got sent and kind of plopped it over the top, and it just gelled together so nicely that I kind of restructured the entire thing. But it was originally a house track, and it sounded really cool. I probably will do it as a little version that I could play in my live sets when I get bored of this one. But yeah, it was my manager actually. He was like, "What would it sound like sped up, like more of a dance floor hip hop track?" And I was like, "Nah, that'll never work. It's a house song. This is what it is." And he was like, "Just try it." And I did, and then rang him back straight away. It was like, well, sir, that was a very good idea, because it just has just the right energy. It's super cool. I wouldn't even know how to describe this song. It's just kind of, it's just nice. I like how precise it all is. I need to sort of, it feels like a pop song really more than anything else. And that's why we released it as a single, just because some of the other tracks it's a bit more kind of obscure. This one's like quite to the point, and it's really pretty, and just has that energy on the drop. But yeah, yeah, I can't think of anything else to say on that one. I reckon it feels like it's quite up front, where Lion's Cage and some of the later ones, I Will Stay, especially And Love, Endless Fantasy, they feel like there's a layer underneath. Whereas that one, what I really like about it is it gives you everything. Kind of like, it's like Sink Your Teeth In. It's kind of like why I chose both of those as singles, because it's just like, hey, here it is. You don't really need to listen to it 15, 20 times to really understand what's happening. It's really precise like that, and that's quite hard to do. It's quite hard to sort of like get the message across when you listen to it for the first time. You're like, yes, I like this song, and it's yeah, I was quite happy with that. Next one up is a really old track actually, which some of you would be surprised is on there, but it's called Symphony with Lena, and it was part of my Earwax compilation, and yeah, of which there's going to be another one. I've just started working on Earwax Volume 2, which is pretty cool. But yeah, let's listen to this.
I know I spend too much time thinking about you, but I do because I'm alone, and she's got something I don't to you. I know I spend too much time thinking about you, but I do because I'm alone, and she's got something I don't to you. I could write a symphony, I could write a symphony, like a drug in my head, I depended. I could write a symphony, I could write a symphony, like a drug in my head, I depended. This is my heart aching. I know. 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 I could write a symphony, I could write a symphony, like a drug in my head, I depended. I could write a symphony, I could write a symphony, like a drug in my head, I depended. This is my heart aching. I know. Like a drug in my head, I depended. Too naive to believe I don't need it. Like a drug in my head, I depended. Your heart from the mind of a mistake. Don't look back, no, don't look back. My head, no, dog could be safe. Don't look back, no, don't look back. This is my heart aching. I'm numb. This is my heart aching. I'm numb. I could write a symphony. I could write a symphony. Like a drug in my head, I depended. I could write a symphony. I could write a symphony. Like a drug in my head, I depended. This is my heart aching.
What a banger. That's yeah, someone said in the chat this is the beginning of the .wav era, and I totally agree. That's why it went onto the album. This is when I knew I had something else to say. I think writing this, I remember writing it. Oddly enough, I wrote this backstage at a show. We'd been sitting there all day. We were probably about 4 months into the tour, and I got really wrapped up in it, and I couldn't unwrap myself from working on this song. So my head was just in such a, like, working on music, you get really focused, and I couldn't get unfocused. And then when I went on stage, I actually had a panic attack, because I was so spun out by being really involved in writing this piece of music, and then being like ripped out of that, it felt like, and then being on stage in front of thousands of people. It was I breathed my way through it. I think no one in the crowd would have known. It's not the first time, and it's not the last time it happened. But yeah, I distinctly remember not going back to work on this song for quite a while after that, because I was just like, it's sort of triggering. And then came home and played all the bass parts. It's all live bass, and just couldn't put it down. I guess sometimes songs feel like you like a book or something, where you just can't put it down, you can't stop thinking about it. And I think that's what happened to me on the day. It was all based around the vocal, and sleeper for the best vocal on the album, I think. There's so much great vocal writing and takes and recordings, but there's just something about that I think is really special. It's another one of those ones that I can listen to, and it doesn't feel like my song, because I really, really like to listen to it. I don't hear it as a thing that I've laboured over. Every now and then I do write some songs that I feel like I get to enjoy, and that's one of them. And for it to just kind of sit on its own on earwax felt like a bit of a shame. So that's why it's made it onto the album. And it's shout out to Lena, just did an amazing job. Yes. So yeah, that symphony, it's a big one. It's a special track for sure. Next one is my collaboration with Chime. So this is the most dubsteppy the album gets. I allowed one song to become more dubsteppy because it's got Chime's name on it, and it's kind of like felt like we should go there. You know, he's just such a great forward-thinking guy in dubstep. Even though I'm not really part of it anymore, I'd still watch it and enjoy it when people do really interesting stuff. And Chime's one of those guys that, yeah, I'm really, really a fan of what he does. So I was happy to work on the track with him. This is Full to Me.
You never change your spots, but wanna be spotless. Every step trying to be brave. Humans never wanna stop until you can't stop them. I give my last breath to keep you safe. How could we fly with burning wings? I'll float to you, and
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it sounds like me and Chime, doesn't it? Basically, what could go wrong? It's yeah, it's just a bit of a banger. I really love. It's one of those tracks to me. I love the process of writing it. Chime, this is before lockdown. Chime came round to mine, and we were just noodling around with that blum 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 for ages. Just felt like it was so close for ages. We didn't even really. It's like we didn't even really write any music. We just played around with little plinky plonk sounds, just until we found something that we just remember looping it round and round. I was like, I want to listen to this for ages, and still now, it's just like such a cool track. The vocalist is an interesting thing. I actually don't know what the vocalist is going to be called on this track. He's my mate, Nick, and I do a lot of writing with him. We worked on all sorts of other stuff, and we wrote the song together over Zoom. And then he sent me he's an incredible singer, and just it's really amazing to write music with such a good singer, because you just get a vibe for what you're writing. Sometimes if you're writing a song for someone else, you kind of you need to be able to hear what the song is going to be like in context. And working with Nick he's a great writer in his own right, but such an amazing singer. And then he sent me over the scratch vocal, and I was like, I think this is the song, And he had to invent a name. So I think it's his first ever release. He's done so much stuff as a songwriter, but he's never actually sung on a recording like this, which is I definitely am going to work with him again as a vocalist, for sure, as a writer. But it's just I don't really like male vocals that often. You probably notice that nearly the whole album is female, but he's just got such an awesome voice, and it just works really, really well. And there's a lyric in it about a balloon, which I thought was just quite nice. Obviously I've got my flux balloon, my flux ship, and I've managed to get a reference to my Flux airship in a song. That felt pretty good. But that's full to me. Next up is I Will Stay, which is for sure the longest track on the album. This one's a journey. You can see, I think my face might be covering. Let me just zoom over. That's how long it is. And we're going to experience the entire thing. I remember my manager was like, does it have to be that long? I can't remember his exact words. I was like, oh yeah, this track's 7 minutes long. He's like, does it have to be 7 minutes long? And I really love getting asked questions like that, because sometimes you just do stuff in a studio and you're like, fuck it, that'll do. That's good enough. I like it, whatever. And you don't really ask yourself loads of questions. That's what's really important about having a team that you trust. And he was like, does it have to be 7 minutes long? And I thought about it over a couple of days and was like, yes, I think it does. And it is. So this is it.
nothing here now, move along. To silent songs we sing along. To silent songs we sing along. There's nothing here now, move along. There's nothing here now, move along. Who knows where we are? Who knows where we are? I will stay. I will stay. I will stay. I'll see this through. I'm reaching out my hand to you. Go round and round and build with you. Go standing on the edge with you. We'll sail on silence. There's nothing here now, move along. There's nothing here now, move along. To silent songs we sing along. To silent songs we sing along. There's nothing here now, move along. There's nothing here now, move along. There's nothing here now, move along.
that doesn't feel too long. That feels like actually, yeah, it doesn't feel long enough. Someone said they'd love an extended version. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I could do that again, you know. I actually wrote the backing on my first ever stream. It was before like From the Lab and everything. Before I'd upped my game. It was before I'd got the studio actually, and I'm not even sure if I put it online. But I should try and find that, because that was really the point of my From the Lab streams, has been to share the moment that a song is born. I like to look at it as like meeting a song. Like, I meet the track. I remember hearing those chords and being like, yes, this is a song. Nice to meet you. How you doing? Let's chat. And then the rest of building out the song is kind of just like getting to know it. It's like the song was already there. I just needed to find it. And then when I do find it, it's just a conversation of me communicating with the song and working out, you know, how best to represent it. And I wanted my stream to show those moments, because we don't really get much of a chance to share that as artists, and I think it's a really special part of it. And this one in particular, I remember this, it just all started falling into place, and yeah, it was really, really magical. And yeah, during breaks on the vocal, I have done a few things. I think only 2 things with Flux, but yeah, keep your eyes peeled. I may have done a whole album with touring breaks, and it's not like anything I've ever done before. It's rad. Yeah, but that's gonna happen. We're not talking about that album. We're talking about this album, .wav. I Will Stay. It's got the feeling. I just discovered. I don't know. I guess it's kind of trance. But yeah, like Nils Fram. I think I was listening to a bunch of Nils Fram and John Hopkins and stuff when I started writing this. It just kind of wanted to take that vibe and bring it into my world, which is hip hop, I guess. I think I'm a hip hop producer first and foremost. Like, obviously dubstep is you kind of throw that in there, but I've always felt like it's really hip hop and trip hop and stuff like that I'm trying to do. This, I think, is that's definitely not dubstep. I'd say it's kind of a trance trap hip hop record. But yeah, next up, it's the current. It's been out, one of the ones that's been out the longest, current most popular, I think, on Spotify. I think maybe actually 2025 is. But yeah, this is Somebody Else.
Sitting here trying to crack the code to your heart. Been trying to unfold who you are from the start. I'm giving everything, even though you're still a mystery. You know it's hurting me, not knowing if I'm enough to be what you need. If you want me to love somebody else, I will. If all it takes is loving somebody else, I will.
Love that snare. Real like power 80s power snare. It's yeah, that track. This all these chords at the start, this bit. I actually wrote that in 2011. Funnily enough, I yeah, the whole kind of intro I wrote around the same kind of time as I Can't Stop. It's and I didn't do the drop, but it kind of like it was always gonna go in this direction, and then I kind of got waylaid. I wrote like Standing on a Hill and Haunt You and a few other kind of tracks, and that was what I really wanted to do, was this sort of really poignant but melancholic electronic music. It's emotive, squeeze the emotion out of electronics. I always found that not on the whole, but quite a lot of electronic music wasn't as emotional as like the music I'd grown up listening to. It was different. It had energy, but it didn't have like that. It didn't like make you want to cry. Not like, you know, you just get a really beautiful moment in a Patrick Watson record or Pink Floyd or something like that. Cinematic orchestra. I was just like, yes, that's what I want to do. I feel like I touched on that with I Can't Stop, and never really went there because it wasn't really very DJable, and I sort of got stuck DJing for the next 8 years, I guess, and didn't really explore that vibe as much. And that's kind of what this whole album is I wanted to stop DJing, and it's like, well, what do I do? How do I replace that? And then started devising this new live show, and then I started writing all the music for it. I was just like, well, if I'm not dictated to by having to beat match and DJ all the time, fuck, I can do anything. Really, I can write tracks with an extra bar at the start, or a track in 3/4, or have weird intros and stuff, intros and outros, and just I don't have to be dictated to by DJing. I can be dictated to by my thoughts, basically. And this is like it feels like the first step in that. Say like Symphony, I was writing it and was like, oh, what do I do with this now? I can't play it out, so what's the point of this? And that's kind of where the idea for Earwax came from, to do a compilation album for all that music that we all as producers write, but we don't feel like we can release because we can't play it in our sets. That's what I wanted Earwax to be, a place for where all that music can belong. And the Symphony kind of gave birth to that idea, and really gave birth to this album. I think the kind of progression, the freedom of writing that track and releasing it and seeing it go down really well and get loads of streams, and I started playing it in my set. I was like, hang on, this shouldn't happen. I shouldn't have been able to do this, but I did, just by just doing it, writing the song, release the song, play it out. Oh yeah, this works. Why do I have to live in this little box that I have built for myself? And yeah, it's really nice to, going back to somebody else, it's really nice to use some of these musical motifs that I'd written before I put myself in that box, because it feels like this album has brought me creatively kind of back. It's moving forwards, but it's brought me back to where I was right at the start, where all said and done, I just do whatever I like and see what happens. Basically, that's kind of what the start of my career was like, and my whole journey over the past 8-10 years has been awesome. But it's like I couldn't continue doing that. There needs to be more of me in my music, and the me that I felt like I'd left behind is chord sequences like that. So it was really lovely to get that into a song. And yeah, that's Somebody Else. And what a fucking vocal as well. Glinna absolutely smashed it. I made one change. The original vocal was if you want me to be somebody else, I will. And I kind of hated that. I hated the idea of you turning to someone and say, oh, I'll be anyone you want me to be, as long as you love me. If you want me to be someone else, I will. I'll do it for you. And it's just like, no, fuck that shit. Don't change yourself for anyone. Like, and so I changed it just that one word to love. If you want me to love somebody else, I will. It's kind of like, you know, I've got a lot of love to give. If you want me to, I love you, but if you can't take that for what it is and you want me to love somebody else, I will do that, because I'll have to. And I thought that was a really nice little change. It meant more, I think, saying it like that, because the rest of the song feels like it's all about that. So it's yeah, that brought the song together, I think, a little bit more, and gave it more of a positive message, rather than, I think, to some people, that if you want me to be somebody else, that is kind of romantic, but to me it just smacks of a lack of self-confidence. I think it's stronger to be like, nah, fuck you, guy. If you don't love me, then all this love is going somewhere else. And yeah, that's that song. We're near the end now. I've got 2 songs left. This one is called Endless Fantasy, and yes, that is an homage to Anna Managuchi's first album called Endless Fantasy, because as you may have discerned, I'm a huge Anna Managuchi fan and friend, and Endless Fantasy is just such a cool term. And if you're interested, go look up Anna Managuchi and their Endless Fantasy album, where all the concept came from. I thought it's just super cool. Talk to them about it endlessly. And yeah, the end of this song, or the end of the chorus, I was like, it needs to be something like Endless Fantasy. And the guys I wrote it with had never heard of the song, of the album Endless Fantasy, so I was like, well, why can't it be that? I was like, yeah, you know what, the guys would be happy enough. But yeah, anyway, I'll talk after Endless Fantasy.
I don't take to love so easily, but still there's your heart with open arms. Can't you see the stars are on our side? Will you give it all to me, and tell me how this feels for you? So that I feel it too. Tell me how this feels for you. Standing on our own. Endless fantasy. I've been just fine on my own. Now it seems that when you leave my heart it screams. See the light shine up ahead. In your mind, will you follow it and give it all to me, and tell me how this feels for you? 'Cause I'm sure that I feel it too. Tell me how this feels for you. Standing on
It's a brighter day. Riding on the moon, heading home with you to another way. We scream into the falling stars, waving through the world we leave behind.
Tell me how this feels for you. 'Cause I'm sure that I feel it too. Tell me how this feels for you. Standing on our own. It's this fantasy.
What a fucking high note. Ellie absolutely smashed it on that track. Oh yeah, so I originally wrote that song. The original basis for the song was a collaboration with me and Lido, actually. We wrote it in LA. And then I ended up taking it in this direction. And Lido's obviously gone more into the kind of like hip hop. You know, he's always done like jazz hip hop, and it didn't quite gel. So I took it and turned it into this, and that is, it's probably it's the main feature of me singing.
It's a brighter day.
That's like I've sung bits and pieces, but yeah, I reckon it's the best singing I've ever done on a Flux track. That's my style. The reason I kind of stopped trying to do the Flux Pavilion singing thing is because that's my style. It's really soft and kind of breathy, and then with like moments of power. And I found that really hard to fit with the dance floor stuff that I've been writing until now. Now it feels like it really fits. So I think I'll be doing more singing and stuff in the future. The more now feels like my Flux music has kind of caught up with my taste as a vocalist, I suppose. And interestingly, the melodies for that were all devised on stage. What I did is this is when Bass Canyon was one of them. I did a run of about 5 or 6 shows where I played a version of this as an instrumental and freestyle sung over the top. So if you find Bass Canyon, it's definitely on Twitter somewhere. If you find there's videos of me basically freestyle singing, no words or anything, just singing random syllables, kind of like that Lions Cage thing I played earlier, and just winging it. Which in hindsight, especially at Bass Canyon, for I don't know how many people were there, like 10, 15,000 people, it feels like a pretty stupid thing to do, to just freestyle and go for it, see what happens. But I did, and then I found loads of videos of me doing all those performances, and I chose my favourite moments, and then wrote lyrics to fit them. So that's kind of where all that vocal came from. I basically just sort of freestyled it in front of people, and then chose the best bits, which I thought was quite interesting. I've written songs like that before, but in the studio I've never written songs like that in front of thousands of people, and it's pretty interesting. That's Ender's Fantasy. Moving on to the last song, which is my favourite, called Love. And I guess I'll just give a little bit of preamble first. Half of this album existed. So a lot of the stuff that I'd released in 2020, early 2020, I'd written for this album. And then I had another 6 tracks that I had written to go with it, to become the second half of the album. And Anna Managuchi released their album. Oh, by the way, someone asking for an Anna Managuchi collab. Oh, yes. We've been working on music for like 8 years now. That's something that'll happen at some point. But yeah, Anamanaguchi put their album out, and it's just and not in ages have I been so struck by a piece of electronic music as that album. It just is such a beautiful, it's a strong, epic kind of departure from everything. I've just never really heard anything quite like it. It's just so cool and so dark, but being uplifting at the same time. And in effect, I kind of came into the studio, I listened to that album loads, and then sort of deleted most of the album. There was all the stuff that had already come out, so like I Will Stay, Somebody Else, I think Endless Fantasy, and Lion's Cage and 2025 were already out, and I knew I was going in the right direction. And all the other stuff that I'd written, just I knew it wasn't right in my gut. I had the feeling, but it wasn't until hearing that Anamanaguchi record that I was like, yeah, this isn't right, I need more time. And I remember ringing up the record label and saying, I know you want an album, this is the reason why it's coming out now. It would have been ready this time last year, but I was like, I need another year, sorry guys. And took that year, and that's where, yeah, Every Cable, Survive, Partial Fugue, Sink Your Teeth In, I Believe, Twitter Bird, You and I, Fall to Me, and this one, Love. They're all those tracks I wrote after I was like, I need to push myself to really see what I can do and what I want to do with my music. And that's .wav is I kind of felt like when so a WAV file, if you don't know, is a high quality audio file. So MP3 is kind of low quality, low size. So MP3s are really easy to share around because they're really small, whereas a WAV file is like about 50 meg, and it's got more to it as it's like a, don't know. So it's like a brand, and you got off-brand. I don't know, I'd have to think about this. So I'm gonna have to explain this quite a lot. But yeah, it's when you send a song off to mastering to be finished and released, you send off a WAV file. You don't send an MP3. And there's been times throughout my career that I've always thought, what's the point? I'll just send them an MP3. What's the difference? You're never gonna hear any difference, because it's all just noise and big kicks and big snares, and it's all quite loud. I don't think there was ever much discernible difference between MP3 and a WAV. It felt like that extra high quality was kind of getting lost with the way that I was chaotically pushing sounds together. And that's not so much a bad thing, it's just kind of my style. And this album feels like I really laboured over the sound of it and the content of the atmosphere. And it's like when it came down to bouncing it, I was like, I want people to hear this in WAV. I want people to hear this on vinyl. It feels really important to me that people hear the quality that I've tried to impart into the music. And that's where the album name came from. .wav feels like previous Flux Pavilion is .mp3, and now we've entered the .wav era. And yeah, Love, this last song, was just days after I'd effectively deleted most of my album and asked for another year. I came in, I was feeling quite low. I've always suffered with depression, and yeah, I wasn't on medication then, which I am now. Most of this album has been written on medication. It's been a godsend. So if anyone out there is feeling depressed, go speak to your doctor, because it's yeah, I'll do more. I think I'm going to try and organise some interviews to talk about mental health, because I think it's really important. But yeah, I do suffer from depression, and I get some very, very bad days. And writing Love was actually one of those days. I just didn't know what to do, so I cycled over to the studio and just sat and wrote whatever I wanted to write. it's kind of, it's like I'd given up. I was like, I don't know. I don't fucking know what I want to do anymore. Let's just play this. What is this? And then about 8 hours later, I'd written this song. It just happened. Something switched, and I completely forgot about everything. And came home from the studio, felt like with this song in my hands, just like, this is it. This is my new album. It was the spark that led to the creation of .wav, really. And yeah, it's the last track in my set, and yeah, it's called Love, and I think it's cool. I like it. there you go. Yeah. If you've been struggling to work out what genres the other songs are, try to work that one out. Fuck knows, but it just yeah, it feels so right, that track. Really want to explore that more, that kind of energy. Yeah, feels quite emotional getting to this point, having listened to this album. It's quite a big deal. This album's a big deal for me. I was ready to stop being Flux Pavilion. Just didn't know what I was doing it for anymore. Didn't know if it was for me anymore. Like, there's like loads of other stuff that I want to do and music that I want to explore, and I kind of was just feeling a little bit stuck. And yeah, writing this album just happened so organically. I kind of wrote it by accident, and it feels like it's unstuck. It's unstuck me. And yeah, I realised that I can't stop being Flux Pavilion because I am. There's no end to that. And yeah, I'm really glad I didn't put a piece of me to bed that didn't need to go to bed. It needed to come out of its little box that I'd somehow ended up in, and without even realising. And yeah, .wav is the start of a new age. I'm fucking excited. Not much else to say. Emotional. Oh, I nearly cried there, guys. Not on stream. That'd be an embarrassment. But it is how I feel. So yeah, I've recorded this. This will be going up on YouTube and stuff as well. More for posterity's sake. Like, yeah, you never know how well something could do. This album could do really well, and this stream might be, really interesting to look back on. And that could happen in like 50 years. So yeah, it always feels like it's just nice to collect my thoughts while they're fresh. And yeah, take it easy, guys. I'm off. And yeah, .wav out in 3 days. Also, new live show that's happening. Other bits and pieces. I've got quite a busy year, to be honest. This is just the start. There's all sorts of other stuff that I've been working on, that we're going to be exploring together. Thank you so much for sitting with me and hearing my thoughts and kind of getting a little glimpse at the journey of writing this album.